The invitation to my mother's 60th birthday celebration at Cirque sat untouched on my desk, mocking me with its gold-embossed lettering. Next to it, my father's text message glowed on my phone screen: "No failures allowed. Don't embarrass us in front of the Evans family." The Evans family, owners of Evans Global Technologies, where my sister Caroline worked as chief marketing officer. The same company that had rejected my job application 5 years ago, setting off the chain of events that led my family to label me the black sheep. "Ms. Rodriguez?" My assistant Maya's voice came through the intercom. "The quarterly reports are ready for review, and the board members are asking about tomorrow's strategy meeting." "Thank you, Maya." I glanced at the stack of acquisition papers on my desk, documents that would make my parents' precious Evans family look like small-time players. "Any word from legal about the non-disclosure agreements?" "All signed and verified. The Evans family has no idea their CEO is meeting with us tomorrow." I smiled, remembering Caroline's smug voice at last year's Thanksgiving dinner. "Some of us actually made something of our engineering degrees, Julia. Not everyone ends up in a tiny consulting firm." Tiny. That's what they thought Rivera Enterprises was, just another boutique consulting agency run by their unsuccessful daughter. They never questioned why I drove a modest car or lived in a simple apartment. Never wondered how I could afford my assistant's salary on a consultant's income. My phone buzzed again, another text from Dad. "Caroline says Robert Evans himself is attending tonight. Dress appropriately. Don't mention your situation." My situation being the successful tech empire I'd built right under their noses. The one that was about to acquire Evans Global Technologies in what the business world would call a hostile takeover, but what I called karmic justice. Maya entered with a fresh cup of coffee and more papers to sign. "Your sister called again. Wanted to remind you about the dress code. Let me guess, she suggested I borrow something suitable?" I took a sip of coffee, perfectly prepared as always. "Did you confirm the arrangements for tomorrow?" "Yes, ma'am. The Evans board will be here at 9 a.m. sharp. They still think it's just a routine consultation meeting." Maya hesitated. "Are you sure you want to go to the dinner tonight? You could wait until tomorrow when I reveal that their failure daughter owns 3 times the market share of Evans Global." "Oh, Maya. Tonight needs to happen first." I stood, walking to the window of my private office. The real one, not the modest space I kept for family visits. They need to see it in person. Need to realize exactly who they've been looking down on all these years. The city stretched out below, half the buildings visible either owned by my company or housing businesses we controlled. Including Cirque, though my family didn't know that either. "Your mother's gift has arrived," Maya added, gesturing to a small box on the side table. Inside lay a simple silver necklace, modest by my standards, but exactly what they'd expect from their struggling daughter. The real gift would come tomorrow, when they learned that Mom's favorite charity, the one Caroline always made a show of donating to, had a new anonymous owner. One who'd already doubled its endowment. "The car is ready whenever you are," Maya reminded me. "Though I still think you should take the Bentley instead of the Prius." "The Prius fits their narrative," I replied, gathering my things. "Besides, watching Robert Evans do a double-take when he realizes who's really running tomorrow's meeting will be worth every condescending comment about my car." I checked my reflection in the window. Simple black dress, minimal jewelry, hair pulled back conservatively. The image of an unsuccessful consultant, exactly as they expected. "Maya, have legal send the final acquisition papers to my private email. And make sure security knows to expect the Evans family tomorrow morning." I picked up my mother's gift and the invitation. Time to go play the failure one last time. "Good luck," Maya called as I headed out. Try not to enjoy their shock too much. But we both knew I would. After 5 years of snide comments and exclusion, of watching Caroline preen about her corporate success while my parents beamed, of enduring their attempts to help their struggling daughter. Yes, I was going to enjoy every moment. My phone buzzed one final time. "Caroline, Daddy says you're actually coming. Try not to mention your little consulting business to Robert Evans. Some of us have real careers to protect." I typed back a simple, "See you soon," then slipped the phone into my bag right next to the folder containing proof that I'd owned the restaurant for the past year. The Prius waited outside, its modest appearance the perfect prop for my last performance as the family disappointment. Tomorrow the business world would know Rivera Enterprises as the tech giant that devoured Evans Global Technologies. But tonight I would watch them fawn over Robert Evans one last time, knowing that in less than 24 hours he'd be working for me. Cirque's private dining room hummed with expensive conversation and the gentle clink of crystal glasses. I sat quietly at the far end of the table, watching my sister Caroline hold court with the Evans family, her designer dress competing with the chandeliers for sparkle. And then, she gushed, Robert personally selected me to lead the Asian market expansion. Isn't that right, Robert? Robert Evans nodded indulgently, exactly the way I'd seen him do in board meetings when he was barely listening. My parents beamed at Caroline while pointedly ignoring my existence, their usual strategy when important people were around. Julia. My mother's voice carried that familiar tone of forced politeness. Didn't you handle some spreadsheets for a tech company once? Perhaps Robert could offer some career advice. I hid my smile behind my water glass, thinking of the comprehensive analysis of Evans Global's vulnerabilities sitting in my briefcase. Actually, Mom, Oh, look. Caroline interrupted right on cue. The CEO of Sterling Tech just arrived. Robert, you simply must hear about their merger proposal. My phone vibrated silently, Maya sending updates about tomorrow's meeting. The Evans board members had all confirmed their attendance, still blissfully unaware that they were walking into their own corporate execution. Speaking of mergers, Robert Evans suddenly turned to me, surprising everyone at the table. I understand you do some consulting work, Ms. Rodriguez? Caroline nearly choked on her wine. Dad quickly intervened. Oh, Julia just handles small local clients. Nothing that would interest Actually, I set down my glass, meeting Robert's eyes. I'd love to discuss business, Mr. Evans. Particularly your company's interesting position in the market. Julia, Mom hissed, I'm sure Mr. Evans doesn't want to discuss No, please. Robert leaned forward, his CEO instincts clearly sensing something. I'm curious about your perspective on our position. I pulled out my tablet, ignoring Caroline's mortified expression. Well, for instance, your cybersecurity infrastructure is dangerously outdated. Your market share in emerging technologies has dropped 15% in the last quarter, and your Asian expansion plan, I glanced at Caroline, is hemorrhaging money at an alarming rate. The table fell silent. Robert Evans's face had gone slightly pale. How could you possibly know he began. The same way I know about the pending class action lawsuit from your Singapore investors. The one you've managed to keep quiet so far. I smiled, watching Caroline's perfectly made-up face crumble. The same way I know your board is meeting tomorrow morning to discuss a potential hostile takeover. Dad stood up abruptly. Julia, that's enough of your Your 9 a.m. meeting? Robert Evans interrupted, his voice suddenly hoarse. At Rivera Enterprises? I nodded, enjoying the confusion on my family's faces. Rivera. Caroline's eyes widened. But that's the company that's been buying up tech firms across the country. The one everyone calls the silent giant, because no one knows who runs it. Well, I stood slowly, straightening my simple dress. Almost no one. The maitre d' approached our table, bowing slightly. Ms. Rodriguez, is everything to your satisfaction? It's fine, James. Though I think we'll be needing the private conference room soon. I turned back to my stunned family. By the way, I've owned this restaurant for about a year now. The food is excellent, isn't it? You, what? Mom whispered. Own Le Cirque. I smiled. Among other things, the building your precious Evans Global operates from, for instance. The tech company that handles your cybersecurity, or rather fails to handle it. The investment firm that manages your corporate accounts. Robert Evans had gone from pale to ashen. Tomorrow's meeting, your Julia Rivera, CEO of Rivera Enterprises. I reached into my briefcase and pulled out a folder. Though my family knows me better as their unsuccessful daughter who just handles spreadsheets. Caroline stood up so quickly she knocked over her wine glass. This is impossible. You run a small consulting firm. You drive a Prius. Image management, dear sister. While you were bragging about corner offices and expense accounts, I was quietly building an empire. I turned to Robert Evans. Now about tomorrow's meeting. Shall we discuss the terms of your surrender here, or would you prefer to wait until morning? Dad found his voice, though it shook slightly. All this time, when we were trying to help you find a real job. I had one, I replied calmly. Several thousand employees, offices in 12 countries, and a market valuation that makes Evans Global look like a corner store. I paused, savoring the moment. Speaking of which, Caroline, you might want to update your resume. I hear Rivera Enterprises has very high standards for its marketing department. The maitre d' returned. The conference room is ready, Ms. Rodriguez. And your legal team has arrived. Perfect timing. I stood gathering my things. Mom, I'm sorry to discuss business at your birthday dinner, but you always said family should come first. I smiled at Robert Evans. Shall we, Robert? Time to sign over your company. As I led a shell-shocked Robert Evans toward the conference room, I heard Caroline burst into tears and Mom whisper, all those times we called her unsuccessful. Oh, and Caroline? I called back over my shoulder. About that Asian market expansion you were bragging about. I'm shutting it down tomorrow. Consider it my birthday gift to Mom, saving the family name from your spectacular failure. The conference room door closed behind us, leaving my family to digest the fact that their disappointing daughter now owned not just this restaurant, but their entire corporate world. Happy birthday, Mom. The next morning, sunlight streamed through the floor-to-ceiling windows of Rivera Enterprises' real executive floor, the one my family had never seen. I sat at the head of the gleaming conference table, watching the Evans Global board members file in, their faces a mix of confusion and growing dread. Caroline entered last, her designer outfit noticeably less pristine than usual. Her eyes widened as she took in my true office, so different from the modest consulting space I'd shown the family. Please everyone take a seat, I gestured to the chairs. I believe you all met my sister Caroline at last night's enlightening dinner. The board members shifted uncomfortably. Robert Evans stared fixedly at the acquisition documents in front of him. Now, I continued, let's discuss the future of Evans Global Technologies. Or rather, what's left of it after this morning's market opening. Maya entered silently, distributing tablets showing Evans Global's plummeting stock price. Caroline gasped audibly. As you can see, I tapped my own screen. News of the acquisition has already leaked. Your shareholders are understandably nervous. This is revenge, Caroline suddenly burst out. Because they didn't hire you 5 years ago. I laughed softly. Hire me? Caroline, I never wanted to work for Evans Global. That rejection letter was exactly what I needed, motivation to build something better. I turned to the board. Though I must thank you all. Your dismissive form letter was quite inspiring. A knock at the door interrupted us. My parents entered, looking painfully out of place among the corporate executives. Julia, Mom started, we needed to dash. Take your seats, I interrupted smoothly. You should witness this, considering how often you've questioned my career choices. Dad's face reddened. Now see here, Dash. No, Dad, you see here. I stood, commanding the room's attention. For 5 years, you've belittled my choices, mocked my supposed lack of success, and held Caroline up as the model of achievement. I gestured to the trembling board members. Look around. Every person in this room now works for me. Including your precious golden child. Caroline's mascara was starting to run. You can't just dash. I already have. I pressed a button and the wall screens lit up with real-time market data. Rivera Enterprises now owns 51% of Evans Global's shares. We control the board, the assets, and the future of every person in this room. What do you want? Robert Evans finally spoke, his voice barely a whisper. What I've always wanted, excellence. Innovation. Success. I smiled. Unfortunately, your company provides none of these. So we'll be dismantling it piece by piece. Mom let out a small sob. Julia, please, Dash. Please what, Mom? Show mercy? Like you did when you banned me from family functions for being unsuccessful? Like Caroline did when she told her society friends not to associate with her failing sister. I turned to the board members. You have 2 choices. Sign the transition agreements and keep your jobs under new management, or resign and watch your stock options become worthless by closing bell. The scratching of pens filled the silence. One by one the board members signed, avoiding Caroline's devastated gaze. As for you, dear sister, I turned to Caroline, You have a choice too. Stay on in a junior position, where you'll have to earn your advancement based on merit, not connections, or join the unemployment line. Though I should warn you, Rivera Enterprises' blacklist is quite comprehensive. Caroline's designer purse slipped from her nerveless fingers. You wouldn't. I would. I did. I have. I sat back down, surveying the wreckage of their corporate kingdom. Welcome to real success, family. Not the kind you brag about at dinner parties, but the kind that changes industries. We were wrong, Dad said quietly. About everything. Yes, you were. I nodded to Maya, who began collecting the signed documents. Now if you'll excuse me, I have an empire to run. Maya will show you out, all of you. As they filed out, shoulders slumped in defeat, I called after them. Oh, and Mom? Check your charity's donor list tomorrow. You might be surprised to learn who's been anonymously funding it all these years. The door closed behind them, leaving me alone in my tower of success. On my desk, next to acquisition reports and market analyses, sat their years of condescending text messages, printed and bound, my personal trophy of victory. Maya's voice came through the intercom. Your 10 a.m. is here, the Silicon Valley merger team. Send them in. I stood, straightening my now designer suit. Time to show them what a failure can really do. Below, I watched my family's cars pull away from the building, my building. Their world had crumbled, but mine was just beginning to rise.